Good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, 18th of August, 2021, and welcome to your Lira Media World News Digest. Today we're going to be covering a lot of what's happening in Afghanistan, as well as some very interesting other little pieces of information that are honestly, in some cases, really, really cool. So, as much as we're going to have some sad and negative news, we also have some pretty fun, positive news. Of which something I'm going to recommend you guys download. Look forward to that. Now, the first thing we have is, of course, around Afghanistan. So, for one thing, the Taliban have been saying that the US must stick to its original plan to have all US troops out of Afghanistan by the 11th of September. You know, the iconic 9/11 date. And they have been claiming that there will be no attacks on the US effort to extract from the country not only their troops but also the people who need to leave. So that's definitely something. The problem is that these extractions and the effect of them have been quite complex. One of the things is, for example, there were more than 640 Afghans crammed into a US Air Force plane trying to leave the country, and they were evacuated to Qatar. But at the same time as that, there was a German flight that was supposed to take a lot of people because Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany, has promised to evacuate up to 10,000 people. But the plane basically landed and had to take off almost immediately with only 7 people on board. So it looks like the efforts they're going to make to take people out of the country are most certainly going to need a lot more planning, organization, and speed. So we just hope that what needs doing gets done and gets done properly and swiftly and, with all the right quality and etc. Of course, there's the political backlash of such an event, and one of the things that's been happening, this is especially relevant for UK people, is that Joe Biden, President of the United States, has basically been, I don't know how to explain this in other words other than saying they're being treated like they're worthless. It's the way they're being spoken of is basically as if they have no political sway or military sway in the world. And this of course leaves them with a bit of anger, let's put it that way. Now, staying on the Afghanistan situation, there's a lot of other people now getting involved, of which, of course, Prince Harry and Meghan, who basically stated that if any community is in peril, it hurts. It's a direct, it hurts everyone. So it doesn't matter which community it is, it doesn't even matter if you know about them. If they are in trouble, it's going to somehow affect you. And of course they meant it in a more moral sense, but still that's very interesting. And of course Prince Harry, having served 2 tours in Afghanistan during his 10 years in the British military, that does give him a bit of inside knowledge, let's put it that way. Now, this brings us to a country quite nearby actually. The Albanians have been shunning their sworn virgins tradition. Now, this is a tradition that's actually very old in that country, where basically it was a way for women to get out of either forced marriages or so that they could take on traditionally male roles, such as running a farm. And the thing is, of course, fewer and fewer people with modern standards are willing to take on such a tradition. And this is, of course, leading to the tradition slightly disappearing and even being regarded as not a positive thing at all. Now, getting us back to the situation that we've been having with fires, there's a lot of things going on there because there is now a fire in Spain where more than 1,000 people had to evacuate as 12,000 hectares of land would just blaze through. So we now have Turkey, Greece, Spain, and actually just quite a few other places. I mean, Athens had to go through a second evacuation due to another risk of wildfire there, and so on. So, I mean, things are not going explicitly well at all when it comes to a lot of these situations. Now, bringing us back to a few of the other pieces of information I've been picking up, there was a slight mishap on the behalf of a US senator who claimed that there were 30,000 American troops in Taiwan. So he tweeted about how many troops are in each country currently. It was a mention about Afghanistan, actually. And, South Korea, 28,000, Germany, 35,000, Japan, 50,000, Taiwan, 30,000, Africa, 7,000. And that Taiwan 30,000, let's just say that it left China slightly on their toes about the situation, and they've been asking, or actually I should say demanding, explanation, because of course the US and Taiwan have quite a tight relationship. The problem is that China sees this as a sign of Taiwan trying to seek independence, which they cannot authorize, of course, because they consider Taiwan as part of their country. So you can imagine just how chaotic that is, and all that from one single tweet. So be careful what you write on Twitter, people. It's not safe to just write stuff. We learned that with Trump. I thought we would learn that with a lot of other people too. Now, staying in US political struggles, Jeff Bezos and his company Blue Origin are now suing the US and NASA over their decision to contract SpaceX for the lunar landing system. Now, the problem with this is, of course, that, Bezos is backed by an enormous amount of money, so we have no idea how this is going to go. I'm skipping over a few tidbits that I had saved here because I want to keep this episode quite short. But a few more recent pieces of information. Greece has basically stated that they do not want to be another EU gateway for the incoming Afghan into the EU, and partially this is due to the previous situation that they had where basically the Syrian refugees were all coming up through Greece, and a lot of them were staying there, and this was causing Greece's economy to crash rather violently because, of course, they had to look after the people. I mean, that's what you do when you have refugees. But the problem is there is now definitely more struggles happening around that area, and a lot of the European countries just don't know what to do to help because there's only so many refugees you can take in at some point, is kind of what they're going on about. We'll see how this evolves. We'll see what really becomes the solutions, if you want to put it that way. But currently, that's what's being said. Speaking of immigration, the Hong Kongers that are fleeing Hong Kong and coming to the UK are being in need of a lot more, let's just say, positive treatment, because they're losing out on a lot of the benefits and other things that they should be getting in the UK, because they're simply not considered in the lists of people who can reach these benefits, notably for housing, notably for getting jobs, and so on. So this is, of course, a problem in the British political system currently, and something that they're busy working on. Speaking of Britain, there was a bit of insight about the Plymouth shooting, which was the worst mass shooting in the UK in over 10 years. So the person who did it, the criminal, stated that he was an incel, and that is one of the reasons why he was pushed to do this. Now, the problem is, of course, that the incel culture is something that's quite complex to define, but simply put, it's something that's been growing through internet and has a lot of negative backdrop, and is not necessarily seen as anything that could be positive. So I'm not going to venture too deep into that, but basically a lot of people are now wondering whether there should be more censorship on online message boards and things due to this specific case that showed that specific community being, leading to these sort of mindsets. Now, let's just finish off with a few positives. For those of you who are interested in dating apps, Tinder is planning to introduce a profile verification through government ID for all users across the globe. And this is mainly to protect people from fake accounts and, well, basically fake people. Because, of course, if it's governmentally validated, you can imagine that that would change how things work. On a more negative note, the entire country of New Zealand is going to a national lockdown over a single COVID case. So that's New Zealand for you. They will be entirely shutting down for at least 3 days. Some areas for up to 7, maybe more, because of the single COVID case. Now, here's a very nice piece of information. This is the one I said you guys might want to download. The Reporters Without Borders have developed basically a safe haven for press freedom in Minecraft. So they've made a Minecraft map that is loaded onto blockchain, so it cannot actually be deleted anymore because it's now been spread over hundreds and thousands of computers already. And basically it's a library map that actually looks really gorgeous. I'm planning on downloading it. And it has a uncensored library, and this is a library full of Minecraft books, 100-page each, with just press that is not available in all countries. And the idea is to allow people to download the map and educate themselves on information that is censored in their own countries. So that's definitely a brilliant use of a very nice game, actually. So kudos to them. And just to finish off, let's have a quick look at the latest and greatest. So the UK pledges to take up to 2,000. Sorry, let me try that again. The UK is going to take 20,000 Afghan refugees over 5 years. That's their plan so far, at least. Now, to be seen how that's going to be, how that's going to go. Now, the Taliban have promised peace, amnesty, and rights with Sharia law and narcotics-free Afghanistan in first international media press conference. So they basically have been saying that they're planning on having peace, but they will be staying within the Sharia law, so within the law of the Islamic faith, of course. Now, let's see. I'm just checking through to go and see if there's anything else that... Apparently the US is not going to commit to bring every American home. That's an interesting one coming from them. Quite surprising, actually. Now, yeah, I mean... There's basically not that much going on other than what we've already covered. Now, the problem, of course, is that as negotiations and things continue, as the world continues to try and figure things out, there's always more and more development. So we have to kind of see how things are going to go. There's apparently going to be a new Star Wars anime series. That's interesting for any Star Wars fans. Well, possibly it could be terrible. We'll see. And apparently by the end of 2021, the G7 will have stockpiled more than 1 billion spare COVID vaccine doses. So that basically shows that the entire population of the world should theoretically get vaccinated within the next 2 years. So to see how that goes. And magnetic strips on MasterCards are being phased out. No surprise there, they're barely used anymore. And yeah, basically, that's pretty much it for today. Twitter's trying to make a new system where you can basically volunteer things to be censored out. There we go. For now, thank you very much for tuning in. And that episode ended up being a bit longer than planned. Oopsie. Well, I hope everyone has a great day, and I will see you tomorrow morning for your next digest. Hopefully, maybe with some more interesting information, like that very cool Minecraft library. If I find a link to download it, I will put it down in the description of this video. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, please. Thank you. Bye.